And we are live. Welcome to the latest engineering of Love Engineering Live with Gail Nicholson, where we're talking about the business of happily ever after. Now, romance and business, they're kind of so far apart. Or are they? Because business isn't always romantic. And if you treat a personal, intimate relationship as a business, it's really not romantic. But there are a lot of similarities and all sorts of connections. So I'm going to hand over to Gail to give a little introduction about herself, and then we're just going to go with the flow and see what happens.
Alrighty. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Gayle Nicholson. I am a resilience coach and metaphysicist who does energy work to help free people up from decisions that they made when they could barely walk. So that's essentially what I do. And one of those things is helping people have healthier relationships. So that's kind of how Alan and I have been intertwined a bit over the last year or so, online in social interactions and stuff like that. And the other day we were talking about how people are programmed by society to want to get married, but we're never taught how to be married. So we wanted to talk to you all a little bit about what the business is of happily ever after. All right.
What, you mean those fairy tales and Walt Disney and everything that says, and they got married and they all lived happily ever after?
Exactly.
Yeah, but what?
Let's pull that one apart for a
like?
second. Let's pull that
True
particular story apart, right? Oh, don't even get me started on True Love's Kiss. There is so much underground sexual harassment going on in Disney. It's not even funny, but that's another show.
Definitely.
So let's pull apart Cinderella, for example, right? She was not raised to be a queen. She was of noble blood, but she wasn't even raised to be a princess, right? Her experiences after her father died and she became slave for the family was in housekeeping, taking care of the kitchen, that cleaning, that kind of stuff, right? She was not prepared for a life of upper nobility. So then what do you think might have actually happened between Cinderella and her prince after the fact, right? He's going to be telling her, you can't do the things that you're used to doing anymore, and I need you to act this way now, right?
Do they walk out of the family and go and live in America?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, pretty much, yeah. That's a really interesting insight there, actually. So yeah, I mean, when you're not raised in that world, to step into that world is challenging at best. Now, essentially, that's the way pretty much all of us are, though, right? Especially since the 70s, especially since women's lib, right? And all of these moms going out of the home to work, right? My generation specifically, I was born in 1968. Right. So I started to gain consciousness of what was going on in the world around me when women were on the news burning their bras, and feminism, and I can do everything a boy can do. And my mother instilled into us, you can do anything you set your mind to. You can be president one day. The bar's been lowered quite a bit in the last few years for that. I believe that more now than ever. Not that I want the job. Right. But the point being that we're raised with certain expectations. Now, then we also have what's been mirrored in our space, right? I have a mom who has 5 kids, stays at home, does what she can to earn some extra money, and a godmother who's single, an elementary school librarian with a job, and no children. So my young formation is you either are a stay-at-home mom or you're a working woman. And I didn't have any examples of people that were doing both. So when I got older and started to, marry, and unfortunately, I've been married a couple of times, there was that stress in my brain that, unmarried, I can have a job and I can have a life and I can have all of these things. And married, I can't have a job. My job is now taking care of the home. My job is now taking care of this other fully grown adult. And it wasn't something that I was comfortable with, right? So that causes a lot of chaos and stress in a relationship when people don't know what their roles are, right? And that's both a personal and an interpersonal thing. Now, let's take a look back to what marriage, the institution of marriage, was designed for: tracking property. If you had enough, or that you had more than enough, right? And you were in the upper nobility, you were in royalty, all of that, it became very, very important to track your property. And during that time period, property included wives and children. They were your property. They did not have full agency as human beings on their own. They were your property. So yeah, they wanted to have some sort of legal means, documentation by which they could follow bloodlines and follow family lines and determine who actually belonged to who in what strata of society, so that they could be respected accordingly. Okay. There's also kind of a side trip, if you want to go down that one, in that because men were going off to war, they needed to be able to be assured that the children that they raised when they returned were actually their own, right? Because you didn't want anybody who wasn't healthy enough to go off and serve the king to be generating at home, right, in your bloodline. So there's all of these reasons why there are actual legalities and documentation. So let's actually take a look at that a little bit further. What's the business of two families of means joining themselves together? It's no different than a business merger. It's really not, right? Because you've got the enterprise of making sure that everyone's fed, the roof over the house doesn't leak, it's warm, right? There are things that need to be taken care of together. And every person in that family has certain roles that they need to fulfill on that. So in today's society, we can kind of map that on what we're doing and be conscious about our relationships and our marriages by sitting down and having those conversations that are so weird to have, right?
Yeah, especially when you connect with somebody who's like, okay, let's have this really deep, unromantic conversation fairly early on. What? That. Why would I want to do that? I want to get to know you. Well, yeah, you can do that anyway. But at the same time, it's like, say we're going to plan a holiday and we talk about the high level stuff and say, okay, what would you like in that? I'd like a bit of sunshine and some adventure. Cool. Way, book flights, organize holiday. And what she has in mind is a beach holiday with the opportunity of going quad bike trekking or something, maybe a little of scuba diving. And then I've booked snow skiing because you're above the clouds, you guarantee the sun, and you get the adventure sliding down the mountain on 2 sticks of fiberglass. Although the surface stuff meets both criteria, it's going to be a very, very different experience.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely. And that's part of that getting to know you conversation, right? I want to kind of backtrack to what you said, about having this fairly significant conversation early on in the relationship, and the other person's like, "No, I just want to get to know you." Guess what? That's how you get to know each other. You have those conversations that don't come up when you're at the bar, that don't come up when you're at Aunt Susie's birthday party, right? That don't even come up when you're sitting on the couch together, cuddling, watching TV. The ones that you actually have to start the conversation, because without you starting that conversation, there's so many hidden pitfalls for after the wedding, right?
Yeah,
People
it's
people
like,
have children and don't have a common consensus on how they want to raise that child because they never talked about it.
yeah, because generally when it comes to raising children, it will come in two forms. Either I want them to have the kind of upbringing I had, except for the bits I didn't like, or there's no way I want to raise children like that. And the two different children are raised in completely different environments. And when we come together, we expect or assume that everyone else is going to want to raise children the same way.
Right.
And just the whole thing is, it's almost like having a business, but with no management meetings, no staff meetings, no planning, nothing.
Right.
Just like, yeah, we'll open the doors for the business. We'll spend several £1,000s to open the doors, and we'll go on holiday, and then we'll just go with the flow. And it'll be all right, all well on the night, because I feel like I've met the one. That's why we get married.
Right. Right. And you know what? That actually kind of harkens back to what we were talking about, the royalty, the nobility, and everybody else. Because royalty and nobility, because they have means, right? And they have to
Yeah.
protect their assets, right? They don't necessarily get to love the person that they have to marry. It is more of a sense of, all right, we're working together for something greater, right? Far too many people have the commoner mentality in all of that, where I just have to find somebody that I love, because love conquers all, and any disagreements that we will have, love will win, right? That's a great attitude to have. It really is. But then you got to get practical, because you can't eat love. And the electric company doesn't take love in exchange for electricity. So there has to be the practical, mundane, boring, how do we make this enterprise grow conversations, right? I mean, look at the people that you know in your life. The ones who got married and established the enterprise of their family, right, have made certain choices along the way that enable them to get to 25 years, 30 years, and retire together, right? Because their goal is the long term. They're out to build a family, right? Whether they ever have kids or not, they're out to build a family. Sometimes the family can be the two partners, right? And they want to go and travel and explore, and they get to do all these great things together. That's still a family, all right? But the point is that their goal is on out there. How are we going to live our life together in a way that we both enjoy, and that our children, if we ever have them, can enjoy as well? And what today's society sets us up for, with the fairy tales, with the um, wedding show season, right? That um, TV shows like The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, the goal is the party, the wedding. dancing, dressing up in a frilly dress, and husband's involvement in that may be lesser, maybe greater, but essentially he's like, all I got to do is show up for this party. I know I'm getting laid tonight if I don't get too drunk.
Pretty much.
Right? I'm not trying to cut anything down. I'm just saying the way it is. Most of the time, men don't really have to do any of the planning or anything. They're told just show up. Just show up.
Although I actually planned most of mine, but that's another story.
I know you did.
I've always been a bit of a different kind of character.
See, there you go. And there are thousands of men like you as well. But generally speaking, maybe it's an American thing. We're just like, honey, just put the tuxedo on. We'll see you at the party. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like it all subscribes to that old saying we have over here: happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that works. Sometimes
that goes both ways. Happy spouse, happy house.
Yep. Yeah.
If the man ain't happy, she ain't going to be happy either, really.
No. Nope. And
there's a lot happy, to unpack he's there. Definitely not going to be happy.
Right? So, let's see, where was I talking about before I got off on the tangent about men and weddings? Oh, yes. The difference in the goals, right? So you've got nobility, you've got royalty, you've got some people who have been raised to understand that marriage is a journey where you have to choose your partner again and again, compromise, bite your tongue when they've done that same annoying thing for the 250 millionth frickin' time that you just want to shoot them, you know.
Well, depends what that one thing is, though.
It could be 5 different things, you know, but
leaving the seat up on the toilet.
My most recent pet peeve is I will go to bed and my husband will come in, turn on the TV, click through to find, and our remote control does actually click to find a movie that he wants to watch, which is almost always got to have car crashes and machine gun fire in it. And he's a little bit deaf, so he turns it up. And I sleep through it until the big car chase, wreck, accident, gunfire going off. And I'm like, ugh! Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that makes me want to go. If you die by morning, I'm not telling how.
It was COVID.
Right, it was COVID. But the point being, the difference in the goals, right? If your goal is to find somebody who approves of you enough to ask you to marry them, first of all, say no and go work on your self-esteem. And I can say that because that was my first marriage.
And mine. And pretty much all of my divorced and separated clients, I would say.
Pretty much, yeah. But if that's what you're focusing on, then don't expect to get past the first decade. You'll be lucky if you do. And if you do get past the first decade, it's because you do have some skills in biting your tongue, compromising, and letting it go, right?
Or people pleasing.
Or people pleasing, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the goal is not the party. The goal is not the vacation after the party. The goal is not even finding that one person that goes, I want you, and you going, okay. It's finding someone that you can, over the course of a long period of time, years, work together with, respect each other in communication with, and other actions, and build something over the long term. Because look at your friends, the ones who have made it to 25 or 30 years have assets.
I'm going to have to plug my laptop charger in, I think.
Okay.
I'm on about 3%. Ah!
And the ones who haven't
Give
been
me a
able
minute.
to make it that far, they will have losses. They will have child support. They will have alimony. They will have momentum interrupted. They will have periods of multiple years of chaos while they're trying to gather their resources together and recover. And they will have a lot less happiness over the long haul. So consider taking on some business mindset when it comes to choosing who it is that you even want to date, right? If you're actually looking for that end all be all relationship that you don't have to date ever again, then I highly recommend that you do what we're talking about here today. And that is have those hard conversations about business attitudes in building an enterprise of the family. I was a little worried you're going to get electrocuted there, Alan. I still hear a little static in the lines.
It should be gone now, hopefully.
Mostly, yeah.
Joys of being in a van.
Yeah, no worries. So here's another thing that I want to kind of put in there. When it comes to building a family, I had 2 kids. My oldest daughter, when the younger daughter was born, she was one of those kids that was just like, no, get away from me. My mother already had one. You don't belong here. Get out kind of kids, right? And when she grew up, she and her husband decided, first of all, that they were not going to have children for a long period of time. They had almost 10 years together as a married couple, not including his deployments, that they just enjoyed being husband and wife, right? And then once they actually chose to have children, they chose together to have 1 kid. And do you know why? Because she wanted to be able to do everything with that child that she wanted to do as a child and didn't get to because this other kid wasted all the money that we could have used to go do cool things. Right? And I'm still telling you all of that just to make sure that everybody knows that's not wrong. That's actually a educated choice made out of your experiences, your attitudes about life, and what kind of experience you want going forward in your family, in your marriage, with your children. It's a completely valid choice. And it's a choice that she and her husband never would have come to if they had not talked about what kind of parents they want to be and what kind of things that they want their child to experience and enjoy. You know?
Yeah, because some people don't want children at all.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Trust me, there's enough. There's plenty of kids in bad situations that could use a better parent if you want to have children. You know, if you don't, if it's not an issue with bloodlines and you want it to be your own, but
yeah,
there are plenty of kids. We don't need more unwanted children in the world. You disappeared on me, Alan. You're spinning.
a bit weak.
There you go. You're back.
All of a sudden. Hopefully, staying that way.
So, what do you want to talk about now?
Well, a couple of observations I've made talking and listening with people who have had, shall we say, the pleasures of a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And they all seem to have a few things in common.
All right.
One, they never got married for the purpose of getting divorced.
Okay.
And most of them had this thing inside that says, this is wrong. Don't do it. And they did it
Before they got
anyway.
married. Before they
Got
got married.
married, and then they got married anyway. And it might have been okay for a while, and then it snowballs
Mm-hmm.
down and down and down.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think a lot of the divorces around could actually be prevented by this early on conversation about what is marriage actually going to look like? What are we looking to give and receive within that marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think those things are covered that much or not deeply enough. And
Agreed.
also I think a lot of people have deep emotional wounds, whether they're consciously aware of them or not, that do come up in a nice situation.
Right. In fact, I'll speak to that one because that was one of the things that I noticed about myself, that I will not get married again. And that is when that little ritual happens that we call the wedding ceremony, it activates a part of your brain that you haven't had to access before then, because you didn't consider yourself a married person, right? But you have a whole little file box back here about what a married person should be, a wife should be, a husband should be, a parent should be, right? And all of those program tapes, if you will, start getting put into the player. And you'll be standing there in the kitchen going, where the hell did that come from? Because I've never been that way before, right? But it's all your programming from knee high to a grasshopper, right? Before you even had language, you picked up on your caregivers and how they acted with each other and how they acted with you. And trust me, before you knew how to speak, you knew how to get their attention and manipulate their actions towards you, right? And all of this information has just been recorded and sitting back there waiting for that ritual to activate it. Right? So
how do I get what I want? Scream my head off.
Yeah. And sometimes that's how we carry it in there. How do we get what we want? Well, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, husband. I'm going to yell at you and make your evening at home miserable. Right? Yeah. So when that happens for me, because of my particular upbringing, which was not peaceful, was very traumatic. And one of the things that sticks in my craw to this day is my dad would beat my mom and then she'd cook him dinner with no poison. Better woman than me. No. But I became, when that ritual activated my programming, I became the wife that didn't need you, the wife that hated you. And I thought that husbands were a piece of crap that could not be trusted with the children or with the money. So these wonderful guys that I had been with for a long time and we were getting along great. And then all of a sudden the honeymoon's over and you're a piece of shit. And what are you doing with the money? You know? Yeah. And I can heal those things. The second time that I got married and I saw it showing up again, I started working on healing those things and I wasn't successful in saving the marriage. We'll put it that way. And then it came time for me to consider getting married again. And I went, no, the person that I'm with, I don't want to get that ritual activating the old programmings again and put him through what it would take for me to fix that. So I'm just going to accept the way things are and the way things aren't, and love him like he's a human being in partnership with me. And so far that's been doing okay for about 12 years. We've had our our spots, you know, and even though one of the perks to living this way is, legally speaking, I can up and go, or he can up and go when anytime either one of us gets a feather in our butt to do so, right? And that gives us the freedom to consciously choose to stay every single day. I don't have a document that says, oh, it's going to be such a nightmare to pull myself out of this. I better stay, and resent it. I get to choose every day. This person is my partner. What do we need to do today to further the enterprise of our family? Right? He's got his kids. I've got my kids. We've got grandkids. And we do all right. We do all right. So it's okay to live in sin. It's okay to be married. It's okay to be married without children or with children. It's okay to live in sin with kids, with other people's kids. That's absolutely fine. What it really comes down to is, if you're not royalty or nobility, you can find someone to love. And if you really want to love them powerfully, then have the conversations that will build the enterprise together as partners.
Yes, I think another thing that often people don't take into consideration is that as time goes on, we are going to change, and our partners are going to change. Like it or not, change will occur. And you may love the socks off that person today, but after a few trials, tribulations, growth, awesome experiences, beautiful moments, and everything that comes along the journey, in 10 years' time, they may be a very, very different person. And you don't know that.
Yep.
Marriage in itself changes people, as you've already shared with yourself. Having children changes people. Redundancies and stuff like that change people. And if you don't believe that you change too, or your partner will change, just look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself the question, am I the same person, thinking the same things, believing the same beliefs as I was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago? We all change.
That is absolutely
So I
true.
think part of the magic of that journey and choosing each other every day is accepting the changes.
It's not. It's really deeper than that, though. I think, because one of the things that you said is, like 10 years down the road, this person is going to be a completely different person. Well, yes, they will, but you've had 10 years of choices to choose to accept how they're different today than they were yesterday, and to ask yourself and consider for yourself, do I want to grow in this direction with them, or do I choose to grow in a different direction? Because like you said, each one of us changes, and changes is a symbol or an effect of growth, right? Or dying. But it can be argued that growth or dying is growth in a negative direction, right? It's still progress. There's still change, right? So you've had that 10 years to choose along the way. It's not like you have to, like next week, they're going to be as different as they were 10 years down the road, right? So it becomes, I think, really important for us to do that daily check-in. Am I choosing my spouse today? Am I choosing my partner today as they are and as they are not? Not wishing they were, as they are and as they are not. And if at any day there comes up, oh, there's something about them I just can't accept today. Well, guess what? That's pointing at a conversation that you need to have. You know what? You're doing this new thing, and I know that you like what's happening, but there's an impact on me that I'm not so thrilled with. Can we talk about that? Can we come to an understanding on, I get that you got a new motorcycle and you want to be at the Starbucks on Thursday night hanging out with the other lawyers and doctors that ride Harleys too. But that was our bridge night to go play table games with our friends. So I'm kind of feeling rejected, left behind. Can we talk about that? Can I go with you to Starbucks once a month? Can you come with me to our bridge club once a month? And then you can have those 2 weeks to go be with your buds, and I can find something for me to do those 2 weeks. And there's compromises that can be made.
Yeah.
But what we tend to see on TV and we tend to experience in our own life is, oh, they're, being selfish and screw them. And you don't even want to talk to them, let alone fix it or compromise or work it out or, hear what that activity provides for that person. Because we're all, there's this insidious little thing like, I'm supposed to make my partner happy and my partner's supposed to make me happy. And if they aren't happy, or if they could find something elsewhere that they couldn't find from their relationship with me, that's a problem. That's only a problem if bodily fluids are being exchanged. That's the only time it's a problem. Because the person that you're in relationship with is actually a whole human being with their own likes and dislikes and things that they want to experience that you may have no interest in, right? So if you can't communicate, you can't have those conversations of, would you like to try this? Are you okay with me going and doing this? Is there something that you'd like to do during this time while I get to go do this? And then when we come back together, our tanks are full and we're happy and we enjoy spending our time together.
It's something you said just then, the I want you to make me happy. How can anyone make another person feel a freaking thing without their body doing something?
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone says, I want to make you happy. Yeah, okay. How are you going to do that? Put a gun to my head and say, get happy now?
No, but there is ways that, there's things that people do for each other
Yeah.
that do make the other person happy, right?
You can give me a reason to be happy, but I have to, within myself, oh, I'm happy now. I enjoy this
moment. I disagree. Now, I'm not talking about long-term happiness, right?
Yeah.
If I go out to lunch with my daughter and I bring Bill home a sandwich, okay, that makes him happy. Not because the sandwich is that good. It makes him happy because he knows that while I was out, I thought of him. I wanted to care for him and nurture him. I took actions to do so. That makes him feel loved, which makes him feel happy. Okay. Now that's entirely different.
He attaches to it.
Exactly. And like you said, that happens inside him. He could easily go, I don't eat roast beef. Not happy.
I can't see him saying that, but
but the point being that, yeah, it does happen in there, but you can take actions. Now, here's the thing. If I didn't do that, is that going to make him unhappy? No, because he never knew it was an option. Okay. And likewise, he cannot expect that every time that I go out to lunch with my daughter, I'm going to bring him a sandwich. Because when I don't, that will make him unhappy. Right? So again, it's still over there, like you said, but my actions have an impact on whether he is happy or not. Now, package that one up and we'll take it into the larger scheme of things, okay? If Bill is struggling with his business and stressed out about the fact that he's gained a little bit of weight, right? Or, he's just not fulfilled and satisfied, right? No fucking sandwiches in the world is going to fix that. It's not up to me. It's not up to our bubbly, beautiful little granddaughter to put a smile on his face. It's up to him to do the footwork that will make him feel self-respect, confidence, and thereby generate personal happiness. So that's, I think, where a lot of people get confused, because there are things that we can do for each other that will nudge the other towards happiness or away from it. But when it comes down to it, each individual is responsible for their underlying sense of satisfaction, self-respect, and happiness in the world, right? And if you're depressed, I can't fix you. All I can do is sit with you.
Yeah.
All I can do is let you know that you're not alone until I can answer your questions. I can touch you, I can hold you, but I can't walk out of the Black Forest for you.
Yeah.
You have to take the actions to do that.
That's always going to be a personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
And only those who have truly been there understand and know what it's like to take that journey.
Yeah. Yep. And it becomes difficult sometimes too with partners, because when you're working through something, sometimes the person to work it through with is not your partner at first. And I've been a part of a couple of relationships where you don't have any outside friends, like especially in America, because men are so oppressed emotionally that bro love is not okay with a lot of circles of people, right? Like some guys be intimate with other men. And I'm not talking anything about sex. I'm talking about being vulnerable, talking about, man, she does this. And when she does this, I wonder about this,
It's seen as a sign of weakness.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, it's the same over here and Australia and pretty much every Western country. And for me, that's one of the things that our societies and cultures have completely messed up. Because to me, vulnerability is actually a beautiful strength. Because there is no vulnerability within the comfort zone. To get out of the comfort zone is like sticking your head out of the trench in World War I. I could get my head shot off here, but I want to see if they're coming over the hill. And it's not a nice place to be. Mm-hmm. So it takes a hell of a lot of courage. So for me, courage and vulnerability are actually beautiful strengths, not weaknesses in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Now we just got to raise the boys like that, because that's our only hope. Like, I'm not saying that guys that think that way are useless throwaways. No, but retraining is always harder than training. Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to continue to function and do what you're doing when you're feeling vulnerable has its place. It's like if you're in the middle of a barroom brawl, for example, that's not necessarily the right time to start. Hey, mate, I'm feeling a bit down here. Can we have a chat?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the reptilian brain would not allow that to happen.
Well,
even
yeah,
if you
there is
felt.
that, but
be like,
first thing that came to mind.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. There's not a whole lot of time and space for that.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting little tidbit about that. One of the things that is actually exacerbating that is the fact that we have over the last 30, 40 years made no made it so that there are no longer any safe spaces for men to congregate without women, right? There are very few places that can have a men's club. Women will petition for entry, and then it becomes a court case, and then they say, okay, you have to admit women, kind of thing. And men are losing their safe spaces where they actually could have intimate conversations if they wanted to. Right? I'm not saying they did. I don't know. I wasn't in there. I'm a girl. Um, but they don't have that anymore, where it is a monosexed fraternity, brothership, where they can trust that their secrets will be kept. Right? We don't have that anymore. We've got football games. We got hockey games. We got sports bars. None of them are conducive to deep conversations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's further cut off men's ability to be happy and effective in life by taking away their community.
I think it's a bit of a two-way street in some ways. Yes, we've got to raise the boys to be able to share the vulnerabilities and things and not judge or criticize each other. When a lot of women don't always understand how hard it is for the man to open up and share that vulnerability, we also need to raise the girls to allow that vulnerability without criticism or judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
Yep.
that's something that's a little missing as well.
Yes.
I think men, in some ways, their feelings and their emotions are a little bit like a woman and her body. She will only share it when she feels safe, and he will only open up emotionally when he feels safe. If he's with somebody he thinks is going to criticize him, not talking.
Yeah, I think that goes across the board. Not that there isn't a special flavor of that for men, but I think for the most part, any human being, once you've bitten them off, then once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah.
They will not entrust you with that again, ever. It may look like it, but not really. There will be a reservation.
Yeah, sometimes with those deeper things, it is, especially within the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
it is actually beneficial to the relationship to go and speak to somebody independent.
Exactly.
Because your mates down the pub or your girlfriends and whatever, they will have their opinions on each other's partners and whatever else, and they want you to be happy, so they might just tell you what they think you want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or they tell you what's so, and you are now dangerous. Not you, the person being vulnerable, but the other person saying, dude, you really need doing all this for somebody who doesn't appreciate you. And now that person just became a threat to your relationship. So when you make up and get all lovey-dovey with your partner again, you can't be friends with that guy because that guy said, stop doing that shit. Yeah, it becomes iffy. But you know what? If you have a friend who actually can be objective and holds confidences, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
If not, find a priest. Doesn't matter if you're Catholic, they'll help.
Priest,
and they'll keep your
coach,
stuff quiet. Yeah, priest, coach,
therapist, all sorts of options.
Yeah. But the important thing being, sometimes the conversation to have with your partner is the conversation that comes up out of going over it with somebody else to find out what's really
Yeah.
important to talk about here. These three things, okay, this is my ego being hurt. This one's the thing that really needs to be addressed, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing. So we separate out all of that demon dance, if you will, right? Our egos yapping back and forth at each other until we're so tired we're just going to deal with what needs to be dealt with, right?
Yeah. Or walk away
Mm-hmm.
because it's too tiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you get those demon dances a lot?
With my clients or with myself?
With your relationship? Where I used to, not so much anymore, but I had these amazing little phenomenon happen. In landmark education, they call them rackets. And that is a fixed way of being that always comes up against a fixed way of being in somebody else, right? And one of the things that I discovered in learning about that was that I would come home from doing something and I would expect my husband to be upset that I was away. It just was. That's just the way it was. Right.
Whereas
So I
really, he might have
decided,
been enjoying the peace and quiet. I can do what I want.
right. Right. That's always a possibility. But what always happened was I would walk in the house and we would fight. And so I programmed my brain. All right, when I get home, he's going to be very happy to see me. We're going to have a great evening. Right. And I walked in and he was happy to see me and we had a great evening. Now, what you might not realize is that you may have micro expressions projecting your expectations to the person that you love the most, and they pick up on it without even consciously recognizing it as a thought, and they start reacting to it. All right.
Yeah.
So play with that for yourself. What expectations, negative expectations, is that person constantly fulfilling? And can you shift your attitude about it that gives them space to show up differently?
Yeah, it's like if you walk down the street, you see somebody that's smiling at you. Almost instinctively, you smile back,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're having the worst day of your life.
Right. Right. Yeah.
There's so many
And it can
things
really lift your spirits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're oblivious to so many things. I think we must spend around 80% of our time on autopilot.
Oh, at least. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's been studies where it's like maybe 1 to 2% of the thoughts that you think in a given day are an actual original thought.
yeah.
The rest are echoes of things that you should say or you said before or that type of thing. You heard from somebody. So let's repeat it. They're not even your thoughts. And we're largely operating our entire lives from that space.
Yeah. And then we have two people in a relationship on autopilot who haven't had a really deep conversation about how they want the relationship to be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get married because they found the one.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong with that picture?
Yeah. Yeah. Other than the lust spell wearing off.
Yeah, that's another one that people don't talk about. How are we going to keep that passion and that intimacy alive? Because when it's available on tap, you can't. It does kind of. It's like you've got a cupboard full of your favorite cookies. If they're always there, you lose interest in them.
Mm-hmm.
But when that scarcity is there, I don't know if there'll be any cookies in the cupboard when I come to it.
Right.
And there is, it feels so much better.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't. I don't have any hope whatsoever for keeping the passion of an early relationship alive. It doesn't go that way.
Not with the same
Because
intensity, no.
we collapse the idea that that early passion is love. It's not.
Yeah.
It's pure chemical reaction. Enjoy it. Enjoy the hell out of it for as long as you can. And then guess what? It's going to take a little bit of work to get creative. Right?
Absolutely.
And if you've picked the person that you can have hard conversations with and be vulnerable and really get intimate with, right? That's when the intimacy comes in, right? When you can share with your partner, you know, honey, I love you. There's nothing wrong, but I'm not feeling the same excitement as I did when, you know, we were just dating and maybe I was sitting at the bar waiting for you to come and join me, and you'd walk in that door and I'd see you across the room, and, you know, how about we do this? I'm going to go to the bar today. Okay. Maybe about half an hour or so later, how about you walk in and we pretend we don't even know each other? The possibilities are endless for a night like that. You might even recapture some of that old lust that's gone stale because you feel
Absolutely.
like this is a new person.
So
right?
let me ask you a question for
What's that?
for the guys or any guys who may be watching this.
Mhm.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all and 10 being absolutely amazingly off the scale, a man that can have that conversation with a woman, how attractive is that be?
Oh my God. I can't answer for everybody. I am one of those people that finds intelligence extremely sexy. Yeah, there is a word for it, like lust. I don't know what it is, but it's like lust for a brain or something like that.
Demisexual, I think it is.
Demisexual or something.
I think so.
Whatever the word is. But that's me. So somebody that can have an emotionally charged conversation without getting charged emotionally. Somebody that can walk things through with you without getting reactive and activated by something. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Somebody who can tell me, you know, there's times that I want to cry at movies and I stop myself because I'm afraid that you'll think less of me, so that I can have the opportunity to tell them that I think it's the sweetest thing ever when a guy cries at movies, if there's reason for it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it just pulls at my heartstrings. But you'd never know that unless you had the courage to say, you know, sometimes when we go to the movies, I want to cry and I don't want to cry in front of you because I'm afraid that you're going to think less of me.
Or he just does it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, if he doesn't know that I am that way because he hadn't
Yeah.
had the courage to have that conversation, I might be a woman going, what are you doing? We're in public. Get it together. Who knows? Because don't forget, there's still women that have been raised to expect men to not express their emotions outside of anger and stoicism.
And I don't even like that. They don't like it when he's angry.
Nope. No, exactly. So yeah, interesting conversation. Thank you so much for exploring this with me.
No worries. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime.
We'll have to do this again sometime.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Alrighty, my dear.
We'll wrap it up.
Thanks so much again for having me today. I had a very good time talking to you about all of this and exploring it.
Absolutely. On that note, to everyone watching, good day, good night, good whatever time of day it is anywhere in the world. Or as they say in Australia, good day.
Good day.
And goodbye.